This is Noah Nabuo, number 74 from the Yellow Jackets football team, and you're listening to Inside the Hive.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Hive. This is our 2-week special. Anyway, first we're joined up with Coach Ryan Thompson. Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Colton?
Doing well. Say, I don't want to be that guy that starts off the conversation with, how about that game last night? But seriously, how about that game?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a story of the first, we play halves, but kind of the first quarter, that first half of the first half. I thought we started a little flat. I thought they came out, they had a really good defensive game plan. I think they played really well, and we fell behind. And I think the rest of the game we responded, thought we'd increased our defensive intensity. We got out and ran and got some easy stuff in the open court and just got into a good rhythm and thought we played really good basketball there for the last 30 minutes of the game.
Absolutely. When you guys came out for the second half, that's where I really saw you guys taking off. And it was just a fun game to watch at that point. I mean, even the crowd was getting into it. The players, you could tell, were just starting to feel the game. Whereas, like you said, that first part of the first half, it just seemed a little bit off. It just felt like there was something off. Was there something that you made an adjustment for during one of the media timeouts when that happened?
Well, just kind of raised my voice and got a little angry with them, and I think a little bit of that. Just we were, our energy wasn't good enough. I think our guys adjusted to that. There was maybe a little bit of technical stuff with how we were defending, and we got some stops. And when we get out and run and get in the open court and get some dunks and do some of that stuff that kind of gets us going, we're a pretty good team, and that really was all it was. We started to get stops and get out and ran, and started with our energy and effort on the defensive end.
So when it comes to something like that, where it's feeling a little bit flat, a little bit out of sorts, is there a key with communicating with the team as far as how to get out of that, and how much control really, as a coach, does someone have control of that, I guess?
Well, I think it's game to game and situation by situation, and you can't just always do the same thing. Kind of like a teacher, if you give the same lesson plan every single day, maybe your students start to check you out. So, sometimes it's motivating and with that way where we're kind of there's an intensity factor to it, and other times it's maybe a certain guys that if we just talk to them and challenge them and they start playing with a special effort, that kind of is contagious. And other times it's kind of finding other ways to get through to guys. So I think it's we kind of have to just have a feel for your team and kind of figure out which buttons to push, and then that usually changes day to day.
Gotcha. So coming up, we have the South Dakota Mines game, another big rivalry game. Now that I can pronounce rivalry. So what is the key when going up against South Dakota Mines? Of course, it being a big game, probably the biggest game outside of championship games. What is the key going into this one?
Well, I think it starts with us just playing basketball and not getting caught up in all the other stuff. We'll have hopefully a great crowd, and that's a positive thing. But sometimes, players, if you're not as experienced, sometimes that maybe has a negative effect on you, and you change how you adjust how you play because of that. But and then knowing that it's a rivalry game and it means a lot to a lot of people, just not losing sight of the fact that you're playing basketball and you got to do the same simple things you do every other night well. And then for us, it's going to be a short turnaround, and South Dakota Tech is a team that does a lot of things that require you to prepare for them. And so we don't have a lot of time to prepare, and where they got a little more time to kind of get their scout in and figure us out and prepare for us. So us being able to implement a game plan and our guys be able to execute it and do enough but not too much so they're overthinking, and then also just playing basketball and not getting caught in all the other stuff.
So when we go into the game, what are some of the points that you really have to focus on with South Dakota Mines?
I think it starts with what we're going to do with their ball screens. So they're in some ways very similar to us. They have a big guy, Mortensen, who's really good on the block, and then he can pick and pop and shoot the three-point shot as well. and then they have a really good point guard in Alejandro Reyma, and he's a very good playmaker, very good with the ball in his hand. So how we're going to handle those two in a ball screen situation, and I think we're going to have to show them multiple looks and not just give them the same thing for 40 minutes because they're too good to go against the same thing the whole night. So that's probably the start of it. And then I think we're a little bit more athletic than them, and I think they want a slower tempo. And so finding ways for us to be a little bit disruptive on the defensive end and make them uncomfortable would kind of be the other thing that we're going to need to be able to do on the defensive end.
So in talking to assistant coach Kyle Lawson, he said that Chadron played very physically, which we saw. When it comes to South Dakota Mines, it sounds like they're a little bit more technical and more like your playing style. Is it a hard shift for our athletes to go from heavily physical opponent to technical opponent?
That's a good question. I think we're so used to that throughout the league. Everybody's a little different. Some teams are more simple and really try to get after you and defend really hard, and other teams run a lot of different actions and require you to be really good mentally to execute against them. And some teams are motion, offense, and you have to defend that differently than a ball screen team like we are that we go against every day. So, you got to kind of adjust each day. And the good thing is we got one day in between here where we can get on the practice court and kind of implement some things that we need to do defensively. But they're different, but they're also a tough team. It's, they'll defend and they'll scrap and get on the floor and all that kind of stuff as well. So they're a really good basketball team. We got a lot of respect for them, and we're going to have to be good to get it done.
Perfect. Well, thank you for taking the time, Coach, and we wish you the best of luck against South Dakota Mines.
Thank you, Colton. Appreciate you.
All right, and we'll be right back with more Inside the Hive right after this.
Your loved ones deserve the utmost comfort when visiting Spearfish. If you're looking for the perfect place to get the family together, the Spearfish Holiday Inn and Convention Center has the most updated and comfortable rooms in town. Make your reservations today at the Spearfish Holiday Inn and Convention Center.
Welcome back to Inside the Hive. Right now I'm joined with head track and field coach Seth Mischke. Coach, how you doing?
Doing well.
Great. So this weekend you have the Dave Little Alumni Mile coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about preparing for that and, some of the athletes that are going to be there and kind of what you're expecting from them?
Well, it's always a big one for us relative to the indoor season, and it's always exciting. We're usually coming off of the holiday break, so we don't have a ton of training time kind of going into it, but the amount of alumni that do come back, the excitement level, just with respect to that, always gets our kids amped up. And it's certainly a really good first test for us as a team to kind of move in through the rest of our indoor season. Teams that'll be there, Montana State Billings, Rocky Mountain, Dickinson State, South Dakota Tech, us, and then potentially a few from Chadron. So it'll be a nice-sized one for us. And again, the first 2 meets we've had so far, been pretty skinny, pretty small, just relative to amount of people that teams were competing, and then just number of teams total. So this will be a nice, good feeling, normal one where we're going to have, plenty of heats, plenty of prelims and finals, and our kids hopefully can take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Has COVID kind of hit that? Is that why they've been smaller, or is there another?
I think just in general, to be honest with you, our December meet was smallish, and that one's rarely big anyway,
Right.
But, this first one back, I think it's just the first week back from break for almost all those schools. And, the majority of kids probably aren't ready to compete anyway. So
right.
You're certainly not going to put anybody in a bad situation coming off a break like that relative to what they were able to get done training-wise over the holiday. And then, Coach Medigovich, our distance guy, head cross-country coach, he's just playing the game a little differently with the distance kids. So they really haven't raced at all. Other than maybe 2 or 3 so far. And so he's opening pretty much everybody up this weekend. So it'll be a full team. It'll feel better in that regard. But, our sport is geared in a way that physiology dominates in terms of what we're trying to get out of our people. And we want to make sure that we're producing training at the right time so that come conference championship time and potentially national championship time, our kids are at their best. And if we're pushing and grinding and going to the well every weekend, early on in the indoor season. It's going to be very hard for us to do that physiologically later on. So we got to play it a little bit different than a basketball or a football or something along those lines.
Absolutely. It's a completely different sport. So coming off of, this is going to be your second home meet in 2 weeks. We just hosted the Merle Hansen Open this last weekend. Is there anything you saw in the athletes that you're able to take away from and take into this upcoming weekend?
I hope so. Certainly that's always the goal, piggybacking, one meet off the other, whether it's in confidence or just a new cue or a new feel in an event or something along those lines. But it's like, hey, I can't wait to do that right away in my event next weekend, as opposed to just kind of figuring it out my last attempt at something, for a field eventer per se. So I think, our kids in our sport certainly learn from every competition they get, and hopefully we can make the right adjustments, that following week to see, continued improvement as we move through that indoor season. So, you're crossing your fingers always. It's track and field. So usually you're going to find enough good stuff to feel pretty good about the weekend. There's going to be some average in there, and there's going to be some, drawing board time,
Right.
And that's just the way the game has to be played. And, hopefully by the end of the year, we're doing less drawing board time and more, hey, we got it figured out.
Yeah.
And let's get ready and excited for the next one,
Yep, and that's a good attitude to have. So, first off, what is the Alumni Mile? Can you explain it to us a little bit?
Well, I guess it really depends on who you ask that question to, potentially. It's been around for a long time, and kind of the old guard-ish here at BH from back in the day came up with the idea, and it's fantastic. I don't know of too many places that have something like this committed, with individuals that come back every year and actually take part in the track meet, in essence, by running / walking / jogging a mile there, and all shapes and sizes. And some people don't finish the mile. Some people walk 4 laps and that's good, and other people are racing in lanes 1 and 2 to try to be the Alumni Mile event winner for that year. So it's always a cool thing. People come back no matter age, and they're going to fib, they're going to exaggerate what they did back in the day, and they're going to talk a little bit of smack. And then just have a whole lot of fun at the meet, watching our kids compete, and then getting an opportunity to get in there and just have some fun and reminisce, during a track meet setting. So I would say it means a lot to a lot of different people, I'm sure, in different ways. And for me to have something like this established when I came here and took over as the head coach was like a godsend. It was like, hey man, this is like a fantastic deal. They've got some things that they do fundraising wise for us with the endowment and some other opportunities. And it was kind of a hands-off scenario for me. It's like, this thing's already here, established. And hopefully I've done well enough to take advantage of it, throughout the years so far. And always excited to get them back. We certainly missed them last year coming back on campus with the COVID scenario, and excited to get them back here this weekend.
Absolutely, because it allows you to be more interactive with not only alums that are coming from here, but also the community itself. I liked when we did our little pump video. You said that people like to go downtown the night before and exaggerate a little bit, and then come back Saturday and try to back it up a little bit. So,
yep.
So,
you got to put the money where the mouth is. That's what people say.
You
isn't
say
it?
something the night before, you better be able to perform.
Yep.
So who all can participate in the Alumni Mile?
Well, in all honesty, pretty much anybody. It's not like you have to be an alumni per se. There's certainly wives of people that competed, or husbands of the wives that competed while they were here. They jump in and do that thing as well. So, but I'm talking, 95% are people that are alumni or were on the team at some way, shape, or form back in the day. And like I said, it's really fun because you meet new people every year, because not everyone comes here every year necessarily. So you're meeting a good group that are always here, and it's fun to reminisce with them and talk to them about some things. But then you got those new folks that haven't been here maybe for 5 years, and it's like, oh, you're back. Here we go. Let's go. Let's have some fun. And
here's what's new. Here's what's going on.
Exactly. Glad to have you here. Those kind of things. So I certainly, you can just tell the passion that has always been here at BH in terms of track and cross country. And when you have a group like this, it's 300 plus strong, in terms of that group. on Facebook, that means something to them when they were here and continues to this day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I ask is because, I was a student here.
Okay.
And, I was the first student to broadcast the, track meets. So I was just saying, if I wanted to.
If you feel like your training progressions are in a way that you can jump in, you're free to jump and go for it.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I could tell you that there better be trainers and oxygen on standby if I jump in.
Well, we'll have trainers for sure. Oxygen, they might have to take a little run to find some of that. But I can tell you this much. It's a reunion of sorts relative to the 1972, I believe, DAC 10 championship team that was relatively sprint heavy from what I hear. And so a lot of those individuals are coming back this year, and they certainly aren't going to necessarily want to run, jog, walk a mile. So they wanted a 60-meter opportunity for an alumni effort. So we have added that event to our repertoire here for the alumni. So you can sign up. You can show up and you can run a 60-meter dash if you wish. And or you can finish with the mile, right after. They're going to be back to back towards the end of the meet.
Okay.
So just a new little thing here, a new little wrinkle that was suggested by, some of those folks that were a part of that team, and we're doing our best to accommodate. So I'm excited. Not responsible for any pulled hammies. But we'll do our best to heal up if that takes place.
We'll have some BioFreeze on standby for that
there
as
you
well.
Go, the magic BioFreeze, yes.
There we go. Well, Coach, we're excited for this weekend. It's been a busy week here at BHSU Athletics, but of course this has been on our radar for a while, and we're very excited, and we're ready to watch some track, and especially with this being the bigger track meet, we're excited for everyone to be there. The first event is at 4 p.m. on Friday, is that correct?
Correct. We're running a few things, a couple of field events Friday, and then a couple running events, along with some high school opportunities there for some kids in the area on Friday. So like 4-ish to 7:30, 7:45, and then Saturday we'll start at 11 with some field events and get done probably around 3:30, 3:45 with the 4x4s.
Great. And then Saturday is when the Alumni Mile actually happens, and the alumni, we'll call it the Alumni Sprint.
There you go.
And that starts, the events start at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and they'll continue up until about 4-ish.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is we try to give, when we send out the alumni letter, Tom Wheaton does a great job of that over there in the Joy Center. We try to predict when those two events will go off in the meet, and then hopefully we're pretty close to that so that people can show up, they can have their warm-up time, get ready to race. So we're hopeful that the 60 starts around 3 for the alumni, and then right after that we would run the mile, and then the last event of the day would be the 4x4s that we'd finish the meet up with. So the majority of the meet will be done there, and then we'll add those two alumni events at the end, and then finish with the collegiate 4x4s. So
perfect. Yeah. Well, awesome, Coach. Thank you for taking the time. Again, that was Coach Mischke for the track and field team. We'll be right back with more Inside the Hive right after this.
Heard through word of mouth that Joe and Karen were looking at retiring, and my wife and I looked into it and decided we wanted to do something different. I knew the business would work by visiting with Joe and Karen, looking at things, but I needed a bank. I went and visited with Pioneer Bank and set it up the way we wanted, and everything works. They've been great. The rest is history. Here I am. Pioneer Bank and Trust is local.
And welcome back to Inside the Hive. I'm here with head women's basketball coach Mark Norrie. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Not too bad.
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. So, playing this game against Shadron, it was your first time playing a game at home since December 19th.
Oofda.
And it was your first time playing a game, period, since the first of the year.
Yeah, been a while.
Yeah, so how has it been, or how was it just coming back to play?
Well, it was, first of all, it was great to be back playing. Very grateful for that, and I'm thankful that, we had another opportunity. It was starting to, with the weather and everything else, it was just feeling way too much like spring. We're not ready for that yet.
Yes.
We want to play, and now it's just a matter of, getting through and getting our bearings again. I thought we really defended. I thought that the team really played with a lot of energy. I thought that we were, for the most part, I mean, as far as communication on the floor and on the defensive side of the ball, I really felt like we did a lot of great things, and I felt, good about, our performance offensively. We looked like we hadn't played since the first, and at moments, and we had some good possessions in there, but we had way too many turnovers in early on, and I felt like we settled in eventually, but just really thankful that we had an opportunity to get out there and play, though.
Yeah, you're bringing up the first part of the game, and you guys went into the locker room 36-18 lead.
Yeah.
So obviously the ladies, they had to have been excited about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had a little let up right before the half. We had a turnover, and we got a defensive stop, but I was very pleased with our performance up to the half. And even second half, I felt like we still defended well and played with a lot of energy. We just got Shadron got us on our heels a little bit. They changed up their defense, what they were doing, and we missed some shots, and then we played on our heels, and then they started hitting shots. And, it's that momentum game, and you try to grab it and hold on to it as long as you can. And when you give it up, you just try to take it back as fast as you can.
Yeah, coming back out of the half in the third quarter, they went on a 7-0 run, and then the momentum shifted. That was cool to see. I mean, you could see that, yes, things changed. We were trying to get back to our game plan, trying to figure out their game plan. But then once we did, it finally came back into the swing of things. And
they cut it to 8 a couple times, and I was pleased with how we responded. We never allowed it to get under 8. When you get 1 or 2 possession game late in the game and you have almost a 20-point lead, it really you play not to lose, and we kind of did that, and it showed. And that's part of that long layover. You forget about possessions, you forget about those moments, and but we have enough seasoned players that they really did a nice job of making some plays, making some shots when they needed to, getting to the free throw line, when we needed to as well. So we need to shoot our free throws a little bit better, but it was sure nice that we responded the way we did.
Absolutely. And I mean, looking back at that was what I really wanted to point out, was just the way that, things, the momentum shifted, but then it just came back, and you guys made that adjustment, which was fantastic to watch.
Thank you.
I mean, just watching that from the stands, I was a big fan of that. And,
Thank you.
Looking at the team summaries here, Shadron from the field goal range was 27.6% with 16 makes on 58 attempts, 16 to 58, I guess. And then for us, it was 41%, so we were shooting very decent that night.
We were, and first half we were right at that 50, and I think we were in the 60s. I think we made 1 3 maybe second half, but we were shooting a great percentage. And basketball is a rhythmic game, and once teams take you out of rhythm, like they did a little bit last night in the third, then it's you have to retain that, and so it's a great situation to be in from a learning standpoint, and I think Shadron is much improved. I think they compete as hard as anyone we've played. They're really a tough group of gals, and so we had to match that, and I felt like we did.
Absolutely. And you were talking about the learning experience, and it was good to be in that because you walked away with the 57-45 win over Shadron, and to be able to have those learning experiences and yet walk away with a win, that is fantastic. It's always, not great to have, the loss to get the learning experience.
Amen to that. It is, and I mean, you can learn a lot from a loss, but you can learn as much from a win too. And we're thankful to be on that side of it for sure.
Yeah. So going into this next game, we're going to be playing South Dakota Mines, and their play style is going to be a little bit different than Shadron. So how is it going to be different? What other things do you have to focus on?
They're a veteran group. They've had a lot of injuries. They have good players inside that they haven't had the full team and full strength yet. It's a team that is hard to say what they're going to bring, because the last 10 games they've had different players that have been in and out with injuries, with COVID, with different things coming up. And so it's a team that has a lot of potential. They're not as defensively, they're not going to be as much in your grill. They're going to be a little bit more allow you to shoot, a little more pack. I think that there's more scoring punch inside. I think that they're just more seasoned. I mean, Ryan Weiss is as good a player as there is, and she's just recovering from an injury from last year, and she's getting healthier, which is great for her and their team. But this is a team that we've kind of been waiting for. I mean, they got us last year, and here they won on a free throw, and it was a tough loss. It was probably the toughest loss of the year for me, and I lost some nights of sleep, of rest, and so it's upon us, and it's a game, it's a rivalry game. It's one of the longest, like we've talked about, rivalries in the country, and it's something that there's going to be hopefully a great crowd and a lot of good energy, but we're going to have to be ready to go, and we're going to lean on our defense again, and really, lean on that, and offensively, just stay as rhythmic as we can, and set our shooters up, get them in rhythm. We need to score in the paint better. I feel like we can do that more. And that's just going to open things up. But Tech's an interesting team. Their record doesn't show up, but I think they have a lot of potential, and it's just a matter of them getting healthy. And again, we don't know who they're going to bring in.
Right, it's going to be
who's going to be here. We don't.
Yeah.
I mean, they had 2 starters out last weekend, and who knows what that's from.
Yeah, and that's the thing with COVID is, you could scout a team, but all of a sudden it completely changes because they get some players back for the next game.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Has COVID played a role in that so far for you?
For
scouting?
As far as scouting,
Yeah.
it's been a challenge. I mean, there's times where you have to look at their stats and just kind of determine, because a kid might not play. They might play 1 minute, and you have to kind of determine what they are from their stats. And so, our assistants are really good, and it doesn't happen a lot, but it definitely gives kids that are in the shadows a little bit, waiting for their chance. It gives them an opportunity to prove themselves, and so we're seeing it from game to game, different kids in different situations. So
yeah, and sometimes it just takes the time on the court to get them comfortable to be on the court.
100%.
Because like
100%.
we talked about, playing high school is a lot different than playing college basketball. I mean, just think about this. You have those really good D1 players that go from a high school to playing in front of national crowds. I mean, you got nationally televised basketball games. And so the same for us. I mean, we're broadcasting the games where, our crowds are anywhere from 500 to 1,000, depending on what's going to happen during the game. So, playing high school, much different than playing
it is
college. So
it's just a lot faster. It's a lot stronger. It's the big thing is just doing the little things. That would be the biggest thing, is the speed of the game, and then doing the little things, shot faking and pass faking and different things like that. But and defensively, most high schools don't really have the time to put in a defensive system. So there's a lot of learning to do, especially with our system too, defensively, and just kind of getting all in sync that way. So but it gives kids a chance, and again, I always talk about last time too, being thankful, or playing thankful, and coaching thankful. And when your chance arises, I mean, taking advantage of that, and not sitting on the bench because you don't play and pouting, but making sure that you're ready when you're called upon, because you never know, and that one instance can just change the rest of your career.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. All right, well, not only that, but we get to turn around and play another game Monday. So, you don't play for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden it's,
I feel like
let's
an
play
NBA
3.
team, huh?
No kidding. Goodness. So, yes, on the 24th, which is Monday, going to play Colorado Mesa, which is a makeup game.
Yep, 4:00, and it's another. Like they're what are they second in the conference right now? We played them to overtime at their place. We match up really well with them. It's a game that it's a big game for us. I mean, it's huge in standings. It's a confidence game. It's all those things, and it's going to be every time we've played these guys, they have they start 5 graduate seniors, and so there's a ton of experience there. They have a lot of scoring punch, and but we're really focused on Tech tomorrow night. And then we'll lock into Mesa again here on Monday. But that's a 4:00 game time.
Perfect. Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time with us and giving us a little insight for the game against South Dakota Mines. Again, that is 5:30 for women and 7:30 for men game time on Thursday. Also, we have the Dave Little Alumni Mile Friday at 4 p.m. and Saturday at 11 a.m. And then on Monday, we have women's basketball against Colorado Mesa at 4 p.m. So from all of us here at Inside the Hive, and also I'm sure Coach Norrie says the same, go Yellow Jackets.
This has been a Black Hills State University Athletics production. Fear this state.